This is the Spirit and Wellness Show. News and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson.
Yes, hello, this is your host, Harry Wilkinson, and welcome once again to the Spirit and Wellness Show. This is the show where we take a look at the days and weeks events, happenings in the world of politics, in international news, in entertainment, in business, in technology, everything that we interact with on a daily or weekly basis. And we take a look at these things from a higher perspective. And what do I mean by a higher perspective? I'm talking about taking a step back. I'm talking about looking at the world and those things with which we interact as our own creations, and looking at them without judgment, but as creations that contain energy and contain an opportunity for you to grow and to learn and to remember the truth of who and what you are, and the truth of who and what we all are together. From that perspective, what we are is divine mind. We are all one. We are at our highest level of being, just to put it succinctly, at our highest level of being, we are unstoppable. We are all-powerful. We are co-creators. We are our highest selves. And in creating this human game that we like to play in creating these things, we are interacting with ourselves in a way. We are kind of giving ourselves new challenges, opportunities to experience things which at our highest level of being we don't experience, because when you are at the highest level of your being, you don't experience things like fear or uncertainty or feelings of lack or lack of self-worth, those kinds of things, those issues that we deal with. And those are the things that are the basis for just about all of the kinds of responses and the kinds of news media that we get. They are usually about those issues. And having them push your buttons that way, as they often can, gives you the opportunity to go into those things, find the energy that you put into creating it in the first place, and take that energy back by looking at the situation as it truly is, as an illusion, as something you created and that you have control over, and take that energy back. Now, when we do this, we're not trying to change anything. We're looking at things as they are. We're being mindful, as we talked about last week. Mindfulness is important. But we are also not judging. So we're not feeling fear, or we're not feeling even good or bad. We are feeling the power, the energy. And that energy is really true joy. That's really what it is. Though it may present itself in a variety of different ways, that's what it is. And quite often we use this energy to create these thrilling situations that can often scare us out of our wits, if you will. And we do it again to experience these things and to remind ourselves and to ultimately to overcome those things and grow. So that's how we deal with the information age that we live in. Now, recently, we're going to talk about prosperity, and because prosperity issues are, one of the big issues that we face, as individuals and collectively as nations. And so, the idea of prosperity, what it is, what it contains, who has it, who doesn't. It's all, there's always a continuing conversation about that. So that's our topic for today. And it comes up because there's a theology out there, prosperity theology, which our new president, Donald Trump, happens to be a part of or involved in. Interestingly enough, money is Donald Trump's religion in a way. Prosperity theology, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, and how it relates to now as spiritual seekers, which many people who listen to this program are. You may be familiar with ideas of prosperity consciousness and the idea of meditations for prosperity and connecting to that. This prosperity theology is not that. It's something different. And we're going to talk about the differences between those things. Prosperity theology is promoted by people like Joel Osteen, who you may have heard of, mega church pastors like Paula White. And it's a form of Christian evangelism that, quite frankly, a lot of Christians themselves are at odds with and don't really adhere to, and in fact think it is an aberration on Christian belief. But I want to start with, there's a common connection between what we think of when we think of, prosperity consciousness, which is part of, I guess, what they call the New Thought movement. Also, a lot of people who consider themselves to be New Age type people have that kind of thing where they'll, they might, have crystals or what have you in connection to, creating a feeling of prosperity. So there's a commonality, but prosperity theology goes in another direction entirely. So we're going to talk about that. But first I want to talk about, as we, as I mentioned, how we create things to scare ourselves. I want to talk about the doomsday clock, because that's been a lot in the news lately. So for those of you who don't know what the doomsday clock is, it's a clock that was created by atomic scientists. It's been around for over 60 years. Let's see, when it was first created. It was created in the early 1950s, and it was created to kind of show how close we might be to a nuclear catastrophe due to threats, mostly from nuclear weapons. That was really what it was designed for. and atomic scientists having, unleashed this nuclear, technology onto the world, were quite concerned about its use and what it might mean. So the creation of this clock was part of trying to make people aware of what could happen. So, the news about the doomsday clock since the inauguration of President Trump is that the doomsday clock has now been reset closest to the time of midnight. When doomsday clock reaches midnight, it's lights out, folks. That's it. Everything's over. Okay. So what they're saying is that the doomsday clock has now been reset to its closest time to midnight in 64 years. And the reason for this, the scientists say, is that the world is closer to catastrophe due to threats such as nuclear weapons, climate change, and Donald Trump's election. So, as I said, this clock is sort of an indicator of how vulnerable we are to these kinds of disasters that they're talking about. And its hands were moved to 2 minutes and 30 seconds to midnight. And previously it was 3 minutes. So we've lost about 30 seconds there towards doomsday. The last time it was this close was in 1953, when there was this nuclear arms race between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Now, the scientists behind this say that Trump and President Putin in Russia are part of this heightened threat. They are probably responsible for most of it. And that nuclear volatility, especially as the U.S. and Russia seek to modernize atomic arsenals and remain at odds in war-torn countries such as Syria and Ukraine, is at its highest level that it's been in a very long time. The worry is that South Korea and Japan acquire nuclear weapons to compete with North Korea, that is, who already has been doing nuclear tests. And the climate change outlook, actually, interesting, it's a little less dismal, because nations have taken action to combat climate change. And the problem is that the new Trump administration Donald Trump has stated his belief that climate change is some sort of a hoax. And so his administration may not be particularly open to efforts to, avert climate disruption. So all of these things now we have put into this doomsday clock. And, again, it's, we should be aware of these things, but we need to really rethink our rhetoric sometimes, which does tend to get overheated. We, as I said, are divine mind. We are powerful beings beyond measure. And we reawaken to this power, when we confront these issues and when we rise to our highest challenge. So, we have some challenges to face, and our evolution is not a straight path. It is windy, bendy, and twisty, to say the least. But understanding that these things are what we give ourselves to rise to the occasion, to remember who we are. I think it's a good thing to remember that.